Hello, it's Red here. I'm getting ready to read some r/malicious compliance for you. Are you ready? Right, let's get going then. Wherever the statue goes, I must go? Sure thing. I've collaborated some years with the police in my city, Valencia, Spain. And to this day, they still tell the tale of the funniest malicious compliance that two officers did in the late 80s, early 90s. There was a festival where a statue was paraded in a procession through the city centre and ending at the port of Valencia, putting it in a ship in order to transport it to its original place. Two police officers were entrusted with escorting the statue with their motorbikes. The inspector who ordered it was said to be rude and said something along the lines of, "You better be glued to the statue wherever it goes. You two go with it." The service seemingly went okay for the police officers. But after a few days, the police department received a call from the Port Authority informing them that there were two police motorbikes parked for several days inside the port. That was when the inspector realized what had happened. The malicious compliance? As you may have already guessed, the police officers went inside the boat with the statue. This statue belonged to a cathedral located in Ibiza, 110 kilometers from Valencia, and they spent a few days on the isle enjoying themselves before going back to Valencia when the superiors finally contacted them and they were ordered to come back. They did what they were told, and decades later, their colleagues that are still working still remember this tale as one of the funniest moments that's ever happened inside the police department. I wonder if they got paid for those days. Like a paid trip to Ibiza? Sounds pretty good to me.
Okay, here is our next story. Forced me to obtain my own work uniform with no notice after slashing my hours? Really? My final retail job was at a preppy designer clothing store. When I started working there, we were encouraged to wear the brand to work, although you could also wear plain khakis and a plain polo shirt. Then, after a while, the general manager left and the new general manager, a vicious, racist, labour law ignoring psychopath, announces that we all have to switch to uniforms. Khakis or denim only, and a navy blue polo shirt or button down only. Which would be fine, but the company won't provide them. Then the general manager from hell waited until 3 days before the deadline to tell us. And at the time, the store was very picked over from a big sale, so there was almost no acceptable stock, and all the most common sizes in those styles were gone. About 60 employees, mostly part-timers, were frantically scrambling to find acceptable clothes, with almost no notice, at our own expense, and nearly all of us had to look elsewhere. This was a particularly nightmarish prospect for me. I'd had my hours slashed repeatedly, in retaliation for reporting a work injury. The GM was later demoted over it, and another manager was fired, but that's another story. I had no money. After rent and food, I had nothing left at the end of the month, and for the first time ever in my life, had to carry a balance on my credit card just to eat. And I can live on almost nothing. And by this point, that balance was maxed out due to car repairs. To make matters worse, my body is a nightmare to fit. Polos hang on me like tents, and button-ups always gape. Even if I could afford to buy the clothes I was now expected to wear, they weren't going to fit me to brand standards, and I would not have time to take them apart and reconstruct them. I went to the managers and explained that I couldn't afford any more clothes. They'd cut my hours. The general manager had deliberately interfered with my job search, like I was going to stay put with her around. My credit card was maxed out and I had no money left. Could I please get some help? Oh, it can be any brand, just no logo. Maybe you didn't hear me. I can't even afford to go to the Goodwill. True. They blew me off again. So you won't help me? Suit yourselves. I called my mum and asked if she had any of the navy blue cotton fabric left over from a long ago sewing project. I was a fashion design major in art school. I know how to make a shirt that fits me. I already had one pair of handmade jeans, since R&R discontinued my preferred cut. The shirt met the required criteria of having a collar and buttons, but I deliberately did not do a great job. And I know how to do a great job. I didn't have time to make a collar mock-up and adjust the pattern for the best drape. Oh well, the collar's just gonna sit funny. I only had enough interfacing for the packet and the undercollar. Oh well, the collar already sits kind of funny anyway. I didn't have time to turn the collar points out exactly right. Oh well, they just won't quite match, and one of them is just going to stick out a bit. I didn't have time to fix some crooked top stitching. Oh well, the thread matches anyway. I didn't have time to sew functional buttonholes. Oh well, the shirt closes with a hidden zipper anyway, so it wouldn't gape. I didn't have time or money to go to the fabric store for matching buttons and use several very similar ones. Oh well, you'd have to have a very sharp eye to notice. The fabric rolled and creased a bit along the hemline in, 3 or 4 places. Oh well, I didn't have time to press it, let alone hand stitch it. The first day the uniform rule was in effect, evil general manager got one look at the shirt and her nasty smug smirk evaporated. She was fuming, but she couldn't do or say anything about it. After all, it fit the required criteria, and it was the best anyone could reasonably be expected to do with no notice, no money, and no help whatsoever. Sewing is a lot of work, you know. Yes, I got the hell out of there as soon as I could. My God, that's a ridiculous request. That's just really crazy.
Okay, here is our next story. Keep it red. I was playing Uno the other night with my wife and my brother. We'd been playing for a few hours at this point and having an absolute blast. As most long Uno sessions go, there have been multiple alliances, all broken, re-established and betrayed yet again. In this particular round, my wife and brother were at each other's throats, just really doing everything they could to hurt each other. Insults were flying. The sheer number of reverse cards that were played honestly defied logic. And there I was, caught in the crossfire. 2 superpowers at war, and I'm the third world country caught in the middle. Then, the fateful moment happens. She slaps down a red 4 and triumphantly announces, "Uno!" My brother seethed. He could not allow her to win. It's my turn, and he looks at me and says, "Keep it red." Now, see, here's the problem. Before my wife Uno'd, I'd been sitting on 2 skip cards for a while, and I was itching to play them. So when my brother indicated he was going to hurt her using red, all I heard was red. And I happened to have a red skip. So I slapped that down so hard the table quaked. Boys, the utter disbelief on my wife's and my brother's face is a look I'll cherish till the day I die. It was in slow motion that my wife laid down her last card, which was a red 7. We laughed for a solid 5 minutes after that. That malicious compliance is still being muttered about at my house, and in any group chat that contains me and my brother. It was a glorious day. 11 out of 10 would keep it red again. I love Uno. I hope you were all very entertained by those r/malicious compliance stories. I don't know about you, but I'm probably going to go and play some Uno tonight. Please like the video. And don't forget to subscribe. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow.